Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tatenda. Welcome to the Cool Fucking Tech Podcast.
An in-depth look at the latest and best tech startups led by underrepresented founders.
We're interviewing some of the most successful tech startups about how they aim to change the world. Optimal Tech is a game-changing renewable energy startup. Dr. Parker deploys artificial intelligence and hardware solutions across the globe to use energy better and use better energy to help push the needle for climate equity.
From driving solar cell development to advanced modeling, Dr. Parker gives solid advice for how to build a profitable, high-tech company. Funding is often elusive for underestimated founders, but Dr.'s persistence, innovation, and leadership has allowed him to scale while strategically picking venture deals. Hi, thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Parker. We really want to talk about Optimal Tech, and we were wondering if you could give us very quickly a brief overview of the company and what you're doing.
All right, so Optimal Tech, what we're trying to do is intelligently lower the cost of electricity, and we do that through our suite of technologies.
Very cool. So actually, I was looking through your background, and you have a very technical background. And so we're kind of wondering, and this isn't even your first startup I was reading. So we're kind of wondering what kind of led you down this path of entrepreneurship and the technical stuff, and how you kind of hybridize all these skill sets into these companies.
I'm a manufactured blurred, black nerd. I say that because when you look at my father, my background, his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather, they were all entrepreneurs through farming, but not just farming, but they owned a lot of land, and they would section off a part of it for seeds, and they would sell the seeds, the whole nine. So not only did they sell crop and what have you, they sold seeds. They figured out, can we sell hay? It wasn't just a simple thing. They tried to make the best of what they had. My grandfather had a third grade education, and he was one of the largest farmers in North Carolina. So, I mean, he was nothing to sniff at. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I'm just one of the few in my family that has a technical background who can actually scale the entrepreneurship up to something large. So I came upon it because I'm a manufactured blurred, a black nerd. So my father always pushed me in math, and my uncle, he told me in kindergarten that I want to grow up and be a scientist with his own equation. So when I graduated with my PhD from Georgia Tech, I had two. So all of that was programming into me that, from somebody who's low income, single parent home type of situation, it doesn't just happen. It's manufactured.
I also want to talk about the previous startup you had, which was, I was reading, one of the first Black-owned large-scale solar farms.
The company is 510 Nano. It developed the first utility-scale solar farm. It's about 5 footballs in scale, and it's still operating. We still own it. It's still African-American owned and developed. We've done 30 or so commercial and utility-scale projects thereafter, including consulting with a compendium to help Ghana, actually Accra, the major city there, improve its electricity distribution and transmission grid.
So what kind of solutions are you guys developing for companies?
After developing the first African-American utility-scale solar farm in the country and doing 30 thereafter, I said, phew, I did my job. And then I looked back and I said, my job is much more needs to be done. Number one, I was using too much land to build. Number two, it was taking too much time. And number three, the efficiency of the panels were just not there. And I said I could actually develop and use better energy. Then the other thing I noticed is that after the systems were there over a period of time, people, the way that they were using the energy, their prices were going up because they were not using energy better. And I said, I can develop there. So Optimal was born out of the need to use energy better and to use better energy. So One of the things we have is a solar-enabled technology that deploys 21 times faster. So if you want a megawatt of power, you can have it in a day versus 3 weeks. And we take 33 to 40% less land, and for every megawatt we produce, we're producing 50% more kilowatt hours than anybody else in the world. And so we produce better energy. But that's solar enabled. The first product that we have coming out on our roadmap is that solar tech. Within 2 to 3 years, we'll have a wasted energy that's solar enabled that allows it to fit in smaller municipalities versus very large. And that is a game changer. When you're able to take your municipal waste and create energy and other products, that's something not only the developing world wants, that's something the developed world wants. So that's what I call better energy. Right? And then energy better, they said, okay, you seem like a hardware guy. Why are you doing? I'm actually a software guy. My PhD was a theoretical model of developing kinetic models for polymers. And so all of that was coding and developing that. So when I went for my MBA and I was taking this class called financial modeling, I was like, there's nothing you could teach me about modeling. I need something different. I said, I'm not being arrogant. I just know my capacity. I did a PhD and modeled something 2 Nobel Prize laureates couldn't do. So you're not going to teach me anything. So the woman who was teaching the class, Dr. Pam, she said, okay, I'll let you take advanced financial modeling and you're going to have to learn neural nets. And, what do you want to do with that? I said, I want to model the foreign exchange rate between the US and Canada. She said, go for it. And I finished an ML program back in 2000 that was predictive at 91.8% efficacy. And so I'm a modeler, so I've done ML and AI for years. And so I said I could use that for energy. So IoT goes in at your junction box. That information is thrown up to the cloud. Use ML AI to figure out just how you're using it, not just monitor it, but how you use it and what's going on with key equipment, and then what you can do better. I mean, that's the sweet spot. And then to you say, look, your air filter needs to be changing, and you click a button and voila, it's done. That's the whole, and that's what we're doing. We're helping people to use energy better and to use better energy. So my hardware designs came out of theoretical modeling, me figuring out how to solve a problem in a way that nobody else did. And that also lends into our other ML AI solutions. So what we do is try to intelligently lower the cost of electricity for our client.
That's great. So focusing on the hardware, could you tell us a little bit more about the innovation that's gone into the solar panels that you're developing at Optimal Tech?
All right, so if you look at a regular solar panel, silicon base, which is 90+% of the market, it's between 18 to 21% efficient. 80% of the potential energy is just thrown away. They're not going to be able to capture it because you're sending in a broad spectrum of light, and you're asking those photons to be converted efficiently into electrons within that material. And just this little bit of quantum mechanics, when that photon comes in, there's a band gap, and the band gap is of a certain fixed height. If your photons have more of the band gap, you're still producing energy, but you're wasting a little bit, but that's fine. But if you don't send in the right photon and it doesn't have enough energy, it just turns into heat and it's dissipated. So a regular solar panel throws away 80% because you're sending in all of these different photons having different energy packets, and the material says, I can't do anything with most of it. And so I said, okay, all right, I can work with that. And so I used the innovation that I discovered taking my high school picture. I went in and took a picture, and I was smiling bright, and all you could see was my teeth and my eyes, and I was black everywhere else. It was low gradation. It was a horrible. I was like, I am not doing that. And so they said that if I could get another picture, it can go in for high school. So I went into my Uncle Sam. He was my play uncle, because his wife was my godmom, so I call him Uncle Sam. But he was a photographer. He had a similar setup as everybody, bright lights, but it wasn't hot. And he was dialing it in. He said, you have yellow undertones, and I'm going to bring that out. And man, I looked like a superstar. I was like flashing elite. But I said to him, Uncle Sam, why are your lights bright and I'm not burning up like I did with the other guys? He said, because I'm actually splitting the light and I'm reflecting off the infrared. I said, what does the infrared have to do? He said, that's where the heat is. And so I'm not even sitting in the heat because that doesn't do anything to you because it's on the red spectrum and I'm bringing out your yellow, so I don't need that. I said, okay, all right. And that stuck with me. So then when I said, okay, this material, silicon, I'm sending in stuff it doesn't resonate off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to split the light. And so, African Americans historically are known for using everything. They threw away guts and we made chitlins. So I couldn't just throw away the infrared. So I split the light, figured out what material uses UV and vis at the highest level and what material uses infrared at the highest level. And I start tuning them to the spectrum that I was sending in so I can get the optimal efficiency. Once I did that, I took it to North Carolina Solar Center, had them to validate what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I had Boeing to validate what I did. They took my solution off to NREL and a couple other universities, and they published a paper that, outside of my experiment, this was the second time that they were able to get over 40% efficiency in the field. So now notice, 18 to 21% for what others are doing in silicon to over 40% in the field. And I'm not talking about any pristine little laboratory. Winds gusting, and I'm talking about April, August, outside, and it's doing its thing. Nobody else has been able to get close to those numbers in real life, but we have, and we did it routinely. And we're doing it routinely. But that's not the innovation to me. Efficiency, how efficient is a nuclear reactor? How efficient is coal? How efficient is, that efficiency really doesn't matter, but I'll brag about it all day long. The things that we are able to do with the efficiency is, number one, we can drop a megawatt in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody else is taking 3-4 weeks to do a megawatt. Ours is done in a day. And if you're in the military, as an example, and you need a forward-facing base with power tomorrow, we're the only people in the world that can do that. Secondly, we're using less land. And thirdly, we're producing more power. And that's how we're able to reduce the electricity cost. See, that's what matters. Electricity is fungible. As I always say, an electron don't know who his daddy is. But people know how much it costs.
Right.
So, that's the innovation. We're able to reduce costs, save land, and, put up farms much faster because we thought about what the material needs in terms of light.
Obviously, a lot of your startups and your venture has been deeply influenced by your technical knowledge. So I wanted to also ask about how you approach garnering talent to build these companies. And, how did you really focus on that?
I went to undergrad at MIT, and I did my master's and PhD at Georgia Tech. I was a member of the National Society of Black Engineers, National Organization of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and a variety of others. The number of engineers that I have on my fingertips are, legion. Right? 80% of the graduates of both MIT and Georgia Tech are engineers. So black talent or talent, it doesn't matter. I know somebody. And I know, and that somebody is either one of the world's best or close to or knows the world's best. One of the guys I went to high school with has led AI, ML, AR, VR at Facebook. One of the guys that I talk to routinely is responsible for 80% of the ball bearings in cars on the road. I know rocket scientists. I know people inventing cures for cancer. It's just, these are the people I hang out around. I mean, I came up from the hood, and now I know, these folks. That's because they were classmates or somebody that I helped study, helped on an exam for calculus or what have you. These are friends of mine, and they have friends, and that is it's a unique network of smart people. I knew Taj, and Taj knew you. I mean, I'm blessed to be around some of the best people that I could know.
So when you were scaling, when did you decide to get certain people within the company? How did that mechanics work exactly? Because these are two different, these are two pretty big, large ventures that you've had. And Optimal Tech obviously is pretty amazing. So I'm just wondering, at what point when you were developing the solution, did you say, you know what, I need to have another team member for this, or I need to have another team member for that?
So when I was at FSU Business School, this guy, I forgot his name, but he said that when he was 25, he came home and told his wife, "Hey, baby, I just bought a bank." And so I asked him a question. I said, "You've been very successful in life and what have you." I said, "Now, everybody you hire actually ends up solving all your problems. You can hire out your accounting, finance, marketing, everything around your business. So why do they need you?" He said, "Because you are the one with the vision." And so he said, "You got to use your relationships to fill in the gaps." So throughout my life, I've been looking at people, noticing their 2 to 3 big time capabilities, and making sure that whatever gap I have, I know somebody in that space that can help me fill it. So I needed a guy who understood business development. So I went to a friend of mine who worked for the AEKC Foundation, and he used to work for McKinsey. He understands business development. I said, "Yo, Bill, I need somebody who's strong on business development. Who do you think I should talk to?" He said, "Oh, you don't need to talk to anybody else. I got the guy for you. He'll be calling you tomorrow." Boom. Tim Webb called me. We talked. Now, Tim, he started as a community developer, moved into business development. So the way that he does business development is always thinking about people. That fit exactly what I was looking for, because Bill knows me. In fact, he did Public Allies. He helped establish Public Allies in Chicago. And then right after he established it, Michelle Obama took it over, funded it, and grew it. So, I'm talking about quality people I've been able to touch, not just engineers. Now, Bill, he's an engineer from MIT, and went from there. I said, "Look, man, I was talking to another guy. Look, man, I need somebody who's going to be able to help me put together a pitch deck. It's very much like the scripts that you write. Can you talk me through this or lead me?" He said, No, I will talk you through it. Talk through it. And this is Saladin Patterson, the creator of the Wonder Years. He was my little brother at MIT. As I said, I'm blessed to know some folks who's done stuff. And I'm the little guy, right? But, how do I know the people who are going to help fit the needs? Sometimes the people just do something real quick. Sometimes they're a long-term partner. But I always try to make a friend, even to today. And I did that back when I was 18. And I always understood that people had verticals and capabilities and activities that were better than what I could do. And so those became people that I know I could call on. I mean, I call on my wife. She's better at me than at most things. Just ask her, she'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I think, that's a skill in itself, like being able to identify the strengths in other people and how they complement your vision. Because at the end of the day, like you still need to, drive the vision and stay dreaming. So that's still a very powerful skill to have. Now, you talked a lot about some of the utility and commercial projects that you've launched, and I'm interested to know, how does that break down? Like, where are you finding the most success as far as like marketing your technology is concerned?
I tell you, doing the first African American solar farm has been, a great marketing things. I mean, when people look up African American solar, my name usually is one of few, and so I get a lot of calls. So from a marketing edge, that's good. And where does that, how does that break down? Right now, we're doing a project in Bermuda. Um, they're paying $49,000 a month in electricity. When we're finished, they'll be down to $28,000 a month. And they would have been taken 100% off of fossil fuels. And so not only are we reducing pollution, we're reducing costs, and that savings actually saves jobs. You save the planet, you save money, you save jobs. That's our mantra. And by pushing that out there, that's how we actually attract more people who are interested in those three things. So yeah, they like the technology, but they like the impact of the technology even more so. So you can have a real nice widget, but what is it? What's the value? How you have feature benefits. So I concentrate more on the benefits than the features. Yeah, my technology is sexy as hell. I mean, it's sexy, but if it didn't save jobs, if it didn't save people, save the planet, then it's for naught. I mean, we got 0 years. Next year, I mean, we're 1 year too late. So
Yep.
yeah, that's the reason I like the name of this podcast, Cool Effing Tech. Right? I mean, your tech got to be cool, but it also got to be sexy. If
Yeah.
you're not sexy, you're not effing.
That's
100.
what's up. We agree with that.
Yep. So you're kind of in a very interesting startup space where the solution is like what you were saying earlier. People know what the cost is that they're paying out. So when you're deploying your solution, the value proposition is pretty clear. So we're wondering, how is your revenue stream coming in from that side?
Okay, so we're doing something that's antithetical to the venture model, right? So the venture model would be for us to just do the best energy monitoring solution and leave it there, because it's a subscription, is 100% scalable. You don't have to worry about hardware. You can find a third party to do the installation, and you just continuously do coding, because coding is very scalable. I said that's not enough. And that's not where the value is, right? A lot of people, they see that, but if you don't gamify it, if you don't add something more, then it's not something that truly will scale. It will actually poof and go away because the value is not rich enough. So what we've done is took the next step of saying we will make a recommendation on what you should do. Still, that's not enough. And the reason being is we understood the problem is not lack of information. The problem is that we're going after people who have a need for an energy manager, but not a budget. An energy manager costs $80,000 a year. If you're spending $20,000 in electricity, why would you hire an energy manager that costs $80,000 to bring your bill? So we come in as an energy manager as service. So that's the subscription part. We got that. Venture loves it. But we also make a recommendation and create a marketplace that's able to solve it. Now, I've had some venture people say, no, just leave that alone. Leave that alone. You got people like Lyft and Uber, who don't know how to make a marketplace work. I was like, they're not doing the marketplace right. I'm just saying. Because in this particular case, I tell the people what their problem is, and then they ask me to use my channel partner to solve it. They solve it, and I get money off of that. I'm not setting up a platform hoping somebody will find a need for a car service. I'm actually pushing the problem because I see the problem. And so my subscription basis, my MLAI, actually gives me ARR each year by letting my marketplace revolve around it like the earth revolves around the sun.
100%. I actually really, sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
Oh, I actually really like that you're basically, making the TAM more large as you're going. And I was kind of wondering, because you brought up the whole information asynchronicity, really. Is this like the same? Are you doing in a way the same kind of market enablement in different geographies? Or would you say that, like in America, it's more known what the problems are? Or is it equally just there's some sort of black box on what the technology could provide to these companies right now?
We've made hypotheses that learning how people use energy will be fundamentally similar, not necessarily the same. And so we have two folks, one in South Africa and one in Kenya, that are going to test those hypotheses by being channel partners. They're going to be the installers of our equipment on people's breaker boxes, and we'll do the work. And then when there's a problem, we'll outsource it to them. The payment, will come through us, and we'll get our fee, and they'll get their payment. And we'll see whether or not the problems are similar. Two, the energy usage are similar, and that will feed into our databases, because ultimately, with all that information and our cool tech, our better energy solutions, we can then offer microgridding solutions to them to better enable their energy experience.
On the subject of microgridding, like how far do you think, or how near do you think that solution is to hitting the market for optimal tech?
So with the project that I just talked about in Bermuda, we're doing two things. One is by studying, and I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody, and then I'll tell you how I've corrected them. We studied their energy systems for 3 years. Now they said, well, can you study their energy systems faster? I said, no, we took 3 years worth of data and studied it. It only took us, like a few hours, right? But when we were looking at their energy solutions, we fed it into the AI at 15-minute intervals, and it was able to see that the largest energy sink was a missized heat pump. So we now have a high efficiency heat pump that's landed on ground, will be installed over the next few weeks. That will greatly reduce the amount of energy they need. And then we're going to do a 1 acre solar canopy backed by a microgrid. So, and that'll be finished by the end of January, beginning of February. So in my near future, we'll have a 750 kW microgrid that pushes a high efficiency heat pump that will reduce the energy cost by 43%.
Very cool. So, your solutions are really widely addressing the market, and I'm just kind of curious how you're targeting and getting customers in different niche markets. Is there some sort of segmentation or flow that you're following there?
So I partnered with AESG to do that, right? So that gave us two projects with the government of Bermuda. The third one will be in March with Bacardi, and we're working on four or five. So we partner with people to create projects. We partnered with HTP. The CEO there was Jay Patel. Jay is the co-founder of one of the largest hotel organizations called Ahoya. the American Asian American Hotel Owners Association. He also is one of the co-founders of NABHOOD, National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers, and he helped to found the Latina Hotel Association, and he wrote the book on franchising hotels that franchisors use. So Jay went to Bob Johnson from BET. He said, "Do you have any good solar developers out there?" So Bob reached to his number two, Jerry Johnson, and said, "Jerry, who do we know in solar?" Now, Jerry, when he was graduating from Tennessee State, says, "I want to go to McKinsey." I said, "Okay, let me hook you up with my boy Darcy," again, another MIT guy, who's at McKinsey, and we'll get you ready for your interview. Jerry had a straight A, 4.0 chemical engineering, and he did well. He went to McKinsey. He met a lot of my other friends who did consulting and what have you. So now he's second in charge with Bob Johnson, and he knows me as a man of integrity, networks, capability, capacity, the whole nine. And he said, "You need to talk to Reggie." So Jay calls me, and now we've agreed to do over 1,000 hotel solutions. Now, you was like, well, can Jay pull it off? Well, there's 51,000 hotels in the U.S., of which Ahoya alone owns 26,000, of which 19,000 of them happen to have a last name, Patel. So can Jay Patel pull off 1,000 hotels? As Barack Obama would say, yes, he can. And he picked me being the person that's able to deliver not only a solar solution, but our IoT solution with the AI ML, and we call it CARI, caring for assets with reliable intelligence. So we're giving them more than just solar. We're giving them efficient energy solutions that year after year recommend what they need to do to keep their energy costs lower. So yeah, we got the subscription, but we also got the fixes that come along with it.
So you hit on a lot of different things here, and I want to
let me actually sum up and say the way that I go through the market is through partnerships that create larger solutions for a large number. I don't like knocking on a whole bunch of doors. So partnering with ASG brought me a whole bunch of projects. Partnering with HTP got me 1,000 plus. I got, Kidget, and, all of these different organizations have built me a runway close to about $500 million of revenue over the next 4 years.
So I really like the spearfishing approach that you're taking towards getting more contracts. And oftentimes when there's like a lot of work lined up, that's when funding comes into play. But the exact opposite end of that spectrum is that, you have recurring revenue, you have deployments that are high paying up front. So funding isn't really as necessary in a lot of ways for you. So I'm kind of wondering, how are you looking at the long-term growth of the company in terms of funding, when it would be needed and stuff like that?
To be the pretty girl at the party is the person who don't need a date. That's when you get all the guys rolling up to you, or vice versa. So when you need less money, then you got more people trying to get in your business. When you're desperate and need money, it's hard to find, or it's usually when it does come. So we're pretty girl at the party, or in my case, the pretty guy.
Yeah.
And we're very choosy about who we want to be a part of what we do, because we're not just looking for money. We're looking for financial partners. We're B2B. And the B that we really sell to is our channel partners, right? They're the ones doing the installation of our equipment. They're the ones who are installing the maintenance fixes and things of that nature. So we strongly build that brand, and we want to scale it. And so the folks that we want to join, our financial partners, should be able to help us there or help us with AI, business development, those type of things. But if it's just pure money, we don't need that.
What would you say would be a piece of advice that you might give to earlier stage startups as far as positioning themselves to be a power player like Optimal Tech is?
I have to speak to what I call underestimated founders differently than non-underestimated founders, because underestimated founders are going to be underestimated. You know, I had a woman tell me specifically that she wanted more of my company to address the difficulties I will have by having a black company. So I said, are you saying that you're going to charge me a black tax because I'm going to be charged a black tax? And she said, yeah, it's going to be harder for you. You're not going to reach the same type of valuations a regular white company would have. Therefore, I need more of your company to balance out for me to get what I should get paid. So does that kind of shed light? So when I talk to these underestimated founders, I got to tell them the real world, and that you got to be like Calendly. You got to make sure that you fund yourselves off of revenue, off of profits, off of growth, so that you don't need their money, so that they want to give. I talk to investors that says, look, once I heard how good he was doing, I tried to invest, but he didn't want my money. Well, I was like, when he needed your money, you weren't talking to him. So why does he need to give his company away when he doesn't need you?
Right.
And that's the position that you need to be in as an underestimated. And that will, again, I started off saying that the way that we are building our company is, anti-parallel to how you're told to build your company according to VCs. And, I had a VC recently tell me, this is, fantastic that you don't need my money. You've been highly, creative and actually growing your company, and I think you're going to be stronger for it. I said, look, man, I'm African American. I know I'll die out here on a vine waiting for your money. And I'll get tired jumping through your hoops. I said, but I actually like you. And if you choose to understand the value that we're delivering, I would love to have you on our cap table. But, choice is yours. And so you have to be in a position to have that type of conversation.
Right. And it takes a lot of confidence too, especially when there's things that are said that are definitely promoting the status quo as is. And then also just borderline, just not acceptable in a lot of ways, that really aren't focused on the meritocracy, right? And it's kind of really disheartening when you hear stuff like that.
Look, man, there's a tribe in Africa that tells you how Sirius A and Series B revolve around, and you can't see that through any regular telescope. And it took the Hubble telescope to see it. MIT professor says those people have no business knowing that. And that's the type of response underestimated founders get when they solve things. I've had investors say, how come somebody else didn't think of that? And I think about, the African tribes are able to see things. My answer is they ain't me. And I say it just like that.
Right.
For full effect. They are not me. They do not have my capabilities. They didn't sit down and take a picture where you couldn't see my face because people did not design the camera to accommodate my complexion. When I was a professor at Florida A&M University, I stuck my hand under the water, and when it saw this side, the water turned on, and then when I went to wash it, it turned off because it did not look at this as skin, and so the light turned off. And because of those type of things, when you put on wearables that are looking at your skin and they're not giving you accurate measures, it says you are not designed with you in mind. And so I can't develop my life around people who can't develop their mindsets around me. And so I am a unicorn by definition. I'm not supposed to be existing. So you actually have to take a whole nother look at it and be very confident in who you are. Guy Vickers once said, "Man, you borderline arrogant." I said, "I'm not arrogant." I said, "Let's get this clear." I said, because arrogance is unfounded confidence. All of my confidence is well-founded. You have to be likably arrogant, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. But if you're not this, how are you going to sell the wares that you have?
Right on. I like that. It's a theme that came up in our previous episode where the founder was really talking about leaning into our differences, because really that's where our innovation is coming from, right? We've been overlooked, and it's because of these moments where we're overlooked and these moments where we've been left out of the conversation that we're actually able to offer something that's unique to the table and solve problems in a very unique way that will really change the landscape of technology. And this is, something that Optimal Tech is doing, and other or underestimated founders, as you put them, are trying to do. So that's a really powerful statement that you just made there. Looking forward to maybe a 10-year horizon, like where do you see Optimal Tech going? Like where do you think is going to be your main avenues of growth down the line?
Some people ask me, who are your heroes? Who are you trying to be? And I've had folks give me names like, you're the Black Elon Musk, because of the number of technologies and what have you. I said, oh, that's pretty cool, but I'd rather be called the American T'Challa.
There we go.
So in 10 years, I literally want to be called the American T'Challa, or Reggie Lewis reinvented. I don't mind as much the Black Elon Musk, but I think that there have been a lot of African Americans and Africans who have done tremendous things that I could be referred to double celebrate not only who I can be, but who we were and who we are. I really don't think that there's a business case for Eli Whitley to have invented the cotton gin. I think that was all his enslaved Africans. And, I want to be like them. I want to be like McCoy, when they say the real McCoy, because he came up with the lubrication that the railway wanted. I want to be like Latimer and help folks know how light bulbs actually work. There's a lot of us. My good friend Lonnie Johnson, I want to have created over 100 different technologies that people use and not know that African American is behind it. The computer, toilets. This, I want to have a company that's not General Electric, but specific, personalized electric. I want to show them that being a Black billionaire is easy if you put your mind to it. Just be a blurred, a manufactured blurred.
100. One of the things that I really liked was how you're talking about designed in features that are limiting the marketplace that the solutions could be deployed about. And a part of that is definitely climate tech occupies a really interesting space where it's almost deployed racism in a lot of ways in terms of climate equity and who's getting hurt from climate. So we're also wondering, how is your company helping to solve that kind of diversity issue where, this disproportionate pollution is affecting certain populations?
20% of all deaths globally are because of fossil fuel burning. Right? And that's from a recent February 2021 Harvard study. $1.4 trillion of energy each year is wasted. And that comes from MIT. And the World Bank says 1.1 billion people have no access to power. At Optimal, we're working to turn all three of those numbers around. One, we're using energy we don't need to use. That money can be repatriated and used elsewhere. That's the reason I'm a fan of Joe Biden's 40, I think it's called 40 Justice Plan, where the people who are harmed by climate change, now get front seat to do work on climate change. Two, we are using clean energy where fossil was used, and then doing clean energy there. We're able to now turn around the tainted water, tainted air, tainted land that affects our community worse. So when I said 20% of the people are dying, at a higher rate, our people are dying. So I don't want them to die. I mean, my mom died because of cancer, and I, don't want other people to have experienced that. And the 1.1 billion, over half of them are in sub-Saharan Africa, 600 million. And so I want to help to try to alleviate it, create clean, smart, intelligent solutions that are able to help people, especially people who are powerless, and doing it in a way to empower them. Double entendre required. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, these are real things affecting real people every day. And we have the solutions. And this is the year to do it. Next year is too late.
Absolutely. Like, I really agree with that, focusing on energy justice, really, right? Like improving access to energy, including access to renewable and clean energy and affordable energy too, right? Because at the end of the day, right, like if you have a really high energy bill, right, like that's all you're really going to spend your money on, and then you can't put money towards other things that can help you catch up to where society has kind of left you behind. So
imagine you didn't have energy at all. What would your hospitals look like? What would your schools look like? What do you do if you're a little girl and you want to play football late at night? And all of these things are impacted.
Right. What would this interview look like? Very cool.
So I think that when I said the thing about sexy, the sexiness is the appealing nature of the tech to the people, so that they're more interested in the benefits than the feature. Cool is the features, right? The sexiness is the benefits.
100%. So for our listeners, is there any media that you wanted them to be aware of to look up optimal tech and stuff?
I tell people when they're looking for the best solutions, get optimaltech.com or get Optimal Tech on social. That's the easiest way to remember us. Get Optimal Tech. We're always looking for partners, channel partners in the space, whether or not they're financial, vendors, equipment. We work with all kinds, and we really want a high efficiency folks that are able to deliver great prices, because we do that in volume. Secondly, we're always looking for installers, whether or not they're solar installers, HVAC installers, electricity handyman, because the more people we have that we can touch on our platform, the more people that they can touch. We want to enable those folks to be more powerful. And then the last thing is that we want people to join us on the journey of saving this planet, saving money for our clients, and saving jobs. And we can do that all in one fell swoop. And the benefits are things that, when you get to be an old man, you can say, I did that. Or old lady.
Right on.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Parker. We really appreciate your time.
All right, that's all I have, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. I've enjoyed you.